Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and very recently we put out our review of The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD on the Nintendo Switch, and a fair few of you, in fact far more than I ever thought really would notice, realized that there were none of my personal thoughts at the end of the video, and that's for a very good reason. I hadn't played the game. PJ, a freelancer who we use very frequently, he's really good. He did the review for us and then he did a load of guide stuff, but we only got one code, so went to him, which meant that I couldn't talk about the game because it would be hideously disingenuous for me to have an opinion about a game that I, rather infamously, at least the original version, dropped like a hot sack of potatoes. But now, as of yesterday, I have it, and I have been playing it, which is terribly surprising. I even got up super early, like as early as I could, to get a physical copy, because I didn't want to like order it and wait and stuff, so I just got up at some stupid o'clock. Yep, it's 8 in the morning, and I'm sat in a car park waiting for an Argos to open. I'm living the dream. But yes, I'm just going to be talking about my opinions of the game. Don't take this as a formal review or anything like that. Just as you don't take my thoughts at the end of a review as a formal review. It's not, it's just a little bit of extra gubbins, and that's what this is, just in a slightly longer format because, well, I had to wait until the game came out. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Okay, so long-time fans of the channel, god damn, it's hot in here. I'm gonna be sweating. Long-time fans of the channel, or even just people who know about me in Skyward Sword, will know that with the original Skyward Sword, I'm not gonna go into it into any great detail, but I borrowed it off a friend when I was at university, started playing it, got incredibly bored. Ah, the phone! Hello, Mum. I borrowed it off a friend, I played it, I got to Farron Woods, but then I got to the point in Farron Woods, I don't know exactly where, but I just got absolutely bored out of my mind. I didn't really know what I was doing, I wasn't engaged in the story, I didn't really like the environments, I didn't really like how the game looked. Like there were a lot of things stacking up that just basically made me say, you know what, I'm not enjoying this, so I slapped it back in the case, carefully, it wasn't my disc, and gave it back to them at the earliest opportunity. And I had like a good 2 weeks in order to pick it up again, and I just had no desire. I kept thinking, oh, I should, but I never wanted to. But then I've heard from so many other people that it really is a really good game, and, you know, all the nips and tucks that Nintendo have done, and reading out PJ's review, I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm actually gonna buy it. I actually went out and bought it, and I'm actually very pleased I didn't. I'm really pleased I've been allowed to have another go at it, as it were. I remember the first time I played, I got really bored of the Skyloft bit, you know, the introduction and stuff like that. I remember just being absolutely bogged down all the time and not really being able to engage with people because the text was so slow, like really slow. I'm quite a fast reader, as you may be able to tell from the way that it looks like I'm skipping through text, but it's just kind of like, it's not, I just read quickly. And this time, I don't know whether it's because I could just, you know, sort of make the text go faster, fill up the text box and just glance at it, understand and move on to a next dialogue box. I got really invested. I know way more about Skyward Sword than I ever did before, even just from that introduction, which is mad considering I'd actually got further than that when I played it originally. From your perspective, further than that. Another big sticking point for me originally was the motion controls, and when I first started playing the HD version, I thought, okay, we'll do the motion controls, we'll do them, and, you know, I got into it, and I tried out the motion controls, and I actually, for the most part, I really quite like them. I do have some reservations about them, generally minor. Sometimes, because you have to sort of get the sword in position and then swing, sometimes if you want to get the sword into position quickly, Link then does a swipe and it's the wrong one, and it's just little twiddly things like that. And I get it. Cobweb, can you not? I let you stay on the presumption you'd be quiet. I also tried the button controls, you know, just the standard ones, no motion controls or anything like that. And that was how I expected to play the game originally. When they announced it, I was like, that's it. That's how I'm going to play the game. And you know what? It's just not as good. I'm sure a big part of it is the fact that the game was built with motion controls in mind, and so that's how it feels most natural. I was kind of thinking, oh, I'm sure I can get over it with button controls, and maybe I could in long term, but, you know, I haven't gone back to it. I tried it once and I was like, nah, I just wanted to go back to motion controls. It kind of felt sort of homely and more sort of in place. And that's how I've stayed, and that's how I've played a majority of what I've played. Like a good 99%. One of the things that did startle me is how good the game looks. Like, I know they've done little bits here and there with enhanced visuals, but at the end of the day, they're relatively minor. But the art style does hold up. I don't think it's as strong as something like Wind Waker, and there are certain instances where the art style looks a bit funky, mostly on the characters, like it's the lips. But it's a minor complaint. I love the look of the world overall, and yeah, as I say, don't like it as much as Wind Waker, but I'm still very much, I enjoy it. It is appealing, and I think that's generally what I could say about the rest of the game. It is appealing, it is enjoyable, and it's actually quite weird to go back to, I suppose in many ways, a classic Zelda after Breath of the Wild and it be a brand new experience, because Breath of the Wild, you know, was this kind of revolutionary thing, and when I go back to playing a sort of more oldie-timey Zelda, I'm expecting to know everything, and I know nothing. There is absolutely the argument that it's not the game that has changed and all the nips and tucks and everything, they're not what is better, but that my perceptions have changed, you know. I'm going at it in a different way. In a way, I almost feel like I'm compelled to play the game because of what I do for a living. And yeah, I suppose, but at the same time, I went in expecting not to dislike the game, but to have reservations. And I do have some small ones, but they are so much smaller than I thought they would be. It's been genuinely really pleasant going into this game and being pleasantly surprised, you know, sort of nice things happening, not, you know, sort of like outlandish, whoa, this is the most amazing game ever, but there's so much charm and originality and some really just nice things that happen. Really nice little attention to detail, things like Beetle being in his shop and having the little spinny wheel things. I think the word I'm looking for is bicycle. And characters like Groose, which I've always had a fondness for Groose just because he's such an idiot and a bit of a pain in the arse, and maybe I see some of myself in him. But all the characters are great, even the main character, Father Moustache, and Jeremy. I will say I'm not mad keen on the idea of like flying the flying the Loftwing is fine with this, but like the Beetle thing especially, trying to fly around with this, it doesn't feel responsive, and I don't know whether that's an intentional design philosophy or, you know, sort of a specific limitation of the Beetle thing. Why can't I remember what it's called? But yeah, flying that around, it feels quite imprecise, and there's a couple of instances where things feel imprecise. Again, like the motion controls, doing a stabbing motion especially can sometimes be a bit awkward, and Skyward Strike sometimes not coming down, but that's stuff that mostly happened at the beginning when I was still learning. As I was getting to know things better, I would sort of like work out the, you know, sort of maybe just doing a downward strike and then, you know, sort of like bringing the sword up and doing another downward strike isn't worth it. Just like it isn't in real sword combat, it's worth going wha-bang, wha-bang. If you're going to attack two things, you go down and then up, or up and then down. You know, you do treat it as a sword. Girahim was interesting. I still don't quite know what I was supposed to do against him, but I did beat him without dying, so that was fun. But when all is said and done, when everything is lumped together, do I like Skyward Sword HD? Yes, I actually like it a lot more than I thought I would. I'm genuinely really pleased, because in a way this has kind of always been a bit of a blot on the Zelda landscape for me. I've never fully understood it. For some reason, I didn't like Loftwings originally, and I don't know why. Now I love them. They're big birds with big beaks that go meh. I'm super pleased that I'm enjoying this game, and I'm super looking forward to playing the rest of it. And I think that's the best compliment I can give it. Do I think it's the best Zelda game in the series? No, I do think that it focuses a little bit too heavily on the motion side of things when it really doesn't need to sometimes. But what it does right, it does very right. Where would I rank this in all the Zeldas? I have literally no idea. I've only just thought that up in my head. Feels a bit unfair to rank this because I haven't finished it yet, but I would say if I absolutely had to, with my current experience, among all the 3D Zeldas, I would rank this slightly above Twilight Princess, not like massively. Twilight Princess, I really like it, but it's not my favorite. And maybe below Wind Waker. I have a lot of fondness for Wind Waker. Call it nostalgia, it probably is. I don't care. I'm the one doing the ranking. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you that subscribe button, and be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye. You've reached the end of Alex's personal thoughts, and that means it's time for Alex's impersonal thoughts.